Where are we with all of this and Odell Beckham Jr.?
Well, Laura, it's the second straight day that Odell Beckham Jr. is not at the Cleveland Browns complex. And right now, it's hard to imagine that he will be able to play on Sunday in a big AFC North game against the Cincinnati Bengals. And I think it's fair to wonder if Odell Beckham Jr.'s time with the Cleveland Browns is over. That's the question right now that a lot of people are asking. And again, this looks like a broken relationship with Odell Beckham Jr.'s father posting the video that he did on the trade deadline day with the Browns, having trade conversations with other teams about Odell Beckham Jr. that couldn't get done. Both sides seemed interested in moving on from the other. Now there's an excused absence. Odell Beckham Jr. has been sent home. He's been kept away a couple of days. Again, not expected to play Sunday against the Cincinnati Bengals. And the question is, will he play again at all for the Cleveland Browns? And I think when you talk to people around the league, they believe the answer to that question is no. And I believe we have a certain member on this set who's been through a similar situation in 2004 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where they put him on ice for the season. He never played another down for that team. And the season after, he was traded for the Dallas Cowboys. But I'll let my sources on the set verify that.
Key, we'd be talking about you. Go ahead.
Oh, well, yes, I was moved on after that. Look, here's what I would say, since Adam put me on the spot. Very similar situation to what OBJ is going through. The difference is I didn't have an issue, as I said yesterday, with my quarterback. I had an issue with the head coach and John Gruden. Clearly, those issues kind of, you figure it out later on. In the end, they made a decision not to cut me, not to trade me because of salary cap implications. They allowed the season to go down and finish, and then they traded me essentially to the Dallas Cowboys to reunite me with Bill Parcells. Because in the end, Dan, what I wanted is, hey, give me an opportunity to go play for a winning football team right now. They said, no, we're not going to do that.
Can I ask you a real quick question?
Yes.
What was your team's record like when this all went down for you guys?
We were 500 or slightly below
so similar
500.
to what Cleveland.
We were in the mix.
Yeah,
we were very similar to Cleveland. And I wanted to go to a contender, and they said, no, we're not sending you to contender. On top of that, we have salary cap implications.
Right.
I said, cool, pay me my damn money. I'll get out of here, go sit at home, and then I'll resume my career next year. And that's what happened.
Right.
The rest has been history, Laura.
It is well-documented history, and we'll carry on about that particular situation with what OBJ's options may be with Dan in a second. But Marcus, what will the decision for the Browns tell you about their commitment to Baker Mayfield here, even though this isn't a decision about OBJ?
Everything you need to know, because obviously the situation is toxic now. And you know that you have a disgruntled wide receiver that's going to command a lot of attention. You know your quarterback, based on his presser and the answers he had, the questions he had to answer, is that he feels a certain type of way and slighted or disappointed, however you deem it. The bottom line is, though, and this is the part that I want everybody to get, the fact that they are excusing OBJ from practice and from being a part of the team, he's no longer a part of the team. Like, we could talk about a trade or whatever may come out of this, but the fact that his agent is having conversations while they're fighting to make the playoffs tells me all I need to know. The relationship is broken. It's not going to work, and it's going to imply if they either get rid of Odell Beckham Jr. or they bring him along and say, hey, man, let's see if this thing can work, it's going to tell us a lot about Baker Mayfield, because your franchise quarterback, based on all of the stuff that I hear, is supposed to feel safe and secure.
Nah. The risk of keeping him around versus the risk of cutting him and him going to a different team is greater. Okay? You need to cut Odell Beckham. This is how it happens. You reduce his salary, or you restructure his salary. You owe him $8 million, the Cleveland Browns, for the rest of this year. You negotiate with him to pay him $4 million. This is a little bit of a conversation that I had with Field Yates. You pay him $4 million to go away, and you cut him. Now, another team that has the chance to pick him up, because it's going to be subject to the waiver wire, then owes him $4 million. And so, yeah, the concern is who he goes to, right? Now, this would be the teams that waiver wire priority that I think would be interested in Odell. The Indianapolis Colts, and I don't know how high they would be. Broncos, no. New England, that would be somebody that the Cleveland Browns would have to ask themselves, is it worth us him getting just completely out of the situation more than him going to New England? Because if I was the Patriots, I'd pick him up. The Chiefs, I'd pick him up. The Chargers, I would pick him up. The Steelers, I would entertain it as well. So, the reality is this. There are going to be teams, waiver wire in your conference, that are going to be interested in getting Odell Beckham for $4 million. I just think, as a Cleveland Brown person, that it's greater for him to go somewhere else than risk him continuing to be in even remote fashion attached to your locker room.
All right, so you've been through this, Key.
Yeah.
What advice, considering Dan's case that he's making, would you give OBJ?
Sit tight, man. They got to pay you your money. You have not been conduct detrimental to the team, so they can't suspend you. They got to pay you. Wait till the end of the year. Come into the offseason. Be a free agent because they're going to release you for salary cap ramifications.
But don't you want out? Like, if you want out, you got to restructure.
But I want to go to a team. I want to go to a team that makes sense.
And that's where his agents come into play. They got to have the conversation.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.